Welcome to the Goalie Mindset Podcast. My name is Pete Fry, the Goalie Mindset Guy, and my purpose is to help goalies have a dominating goalie career. Pete Fry, the Goalie Mindset Guy, the Goalie Mindset Podcast. Excited to have on here today guest Rob Liddell. Rob is a famous goalie coach out of Detroit, and you have a lot of followers. I noticed on Instagram. How many followers do you have on Instagram, Rob?
I honestly couldn't tell you offhand. 25 or 27,000 plus 26, somewhere between 25 and 26, maybe.
Well, you must be doing some pretty good stuff to have that many followers, and I'm excited to have you on here. Let's talk. I got a few questions for you. Let's first talk. We're going to talk about goalies, your goalie coaching, which you do a phenomenal job on. Let's talk a little bit maybe first about your goalie career. The reason why I like to do that is because a lot of times that's what inspires guys to do what they do now, and to be the goalie coach that they are now. And so, tell us a little bit about your goalie career. How old were you when you decided I want to play hockey or I want to be a goalie? And were you in Detroit at that time?
Yeah, so I started actually playing roller hockey. Yeah, I was not an ice hockey guy first.
Wow.
My parents are not hockey people. My dad's not a hockey guy. Like, I had zero background. Like, my dad wrestled in high school a little bit, but that's kind of the extent of his athletic background. And so I had a friend that I was really good friends with that got me into roller hockey. I played defenseman, and I, of course, was like a little bit overweight, and but I like to block shots. So it was the typical, oh, well, let's stick the little bit overweight kid who already likes to block shots without goalie gear. Let's just plug him in the net. And that was how I started playing roller hockey goalie. And then that same friend, he started playing ice hockey at like one of the local rinks, just house league. And then it was like, hey, do you want to come be our goalie, and try ice hockey? And so I got into ice hockey, but I probably didn't honestly get into ice hockey until I was 10, 11, 12 years old. Like, some of the kids I train now have already been playing goalie, which is another conversation. Full-time goalie since they were 8 or 9. Like, I probably didn't start playing ice hockey even until 12 or 13. And I went from like playing house league to travel to then like better travel. And I never honestly cracked AAA. So probably by the time I was 16, 17, I was trying out for Little Caesars or Victory Honda or whoever. 18U, 16U was really the level that I was at before I was even ready to even try out for that type of stuff. And I didn't really have a goalie coach until I was probably 15 or 16, 14, 15, 16, once I started to make some of these better travel teams. And back then it was like YouTube had just started. So there was nothing like it is today where you can just go learn things. So like, I remember Corey Wagtech used to post a bunch of videos on YouTube, and I like would watch his videos because at the time it was like the closest I could get. And and then eventually I did have, team goalie coaches that would come out and teach me things. And then there was, local summer camps in the summertime where I would, but it was 1 week. That was it. It was like, learn as much as you can in this week because this is what you get, and so I kind of just like I said, wasn't really ever good enough to play AAA. I got cut a few times. I had like a small cup of coffee with Leamington in the Goge. Like, I was there through training camp. They're in the OJHL now. Yeah. They're in the OJHL now. So I tried out there, and my buddy was the captain. This is like senior year of high school, maybe like my first year, like post grad. I was going to community college, still trying to make it. And I remember I got cut from Leamington out of training camp because a younger kid came down from the Spitfires. And that was like my, okay, what am I going to do with my life now moment? Because hockey was basically done. I'm 19 years old. Like, I can't play junior. Like, I was just too late, and I'm not tall. I'm 5'9.5". And I didn't probably know enough at the time. Just, it's a lot to try to catch up on when you start late. And ultimately I just wasn't good enough. And I played club hockey at Oakland University for 1 year, which is ACHA Division III. They had 2 different teams. And then I actually transferred to Eastern Michigan University, where I played D1 club at ACHA for a year. And that year we were like in the top conference in the country. So we played Ohio University. We played Lindenwood back when they were an ACHA program. And we just got stomped every game. I was like the 2-3, right? So
it's good for your development though.
I went there to go to teaching school.
Okay.
because I decided I wanted to be a teacher. Eastern Michigan has an exceptional teaching program. So I transferred to Eastern Michigan, had the opportunity to play at a little bit higher level. And I only really ever got in after someone got pulled, or one of my friends who also became a goalie coach afterwards ended up getting hurt. And that kind of created an opportunity for me to play for a while. And I actually got some game minutes. That was probably 2010. And then the following year, they brought in a new coach, and he had other recruits that he wanted more than me, and just basically said, "Hey, like, you're a nice kid, but see ya." So I was 21, I think, and I was, okay, do I transfer to another school, or do I just want to kind of move on with my life? And I had been coaching, I had worked at different summer camps, and I had,
Okay. So
at
you had
that
experience
point,
as a goalie coach even back
yeah,
then when you're 21.
yeah, in college, it's actually when I started training guys. So I was, you know, going to school full time. I was playing club at Eastern Michigan. I got to stop calling it club. The ACHA guys are going to be all over me. I was playing ACHA at Eastern Michigan. They
Yeah.
don't like it when you call it club hockey. That's what we
Okay.
called it when I played. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I would commute from Ypsilanti to Detroit area,
Oh,
in the evenings after school to coach kids. And I was working with, tier 2 kids, mainly team practices. And then I would work summer camps in the summertime, the week-long camps. You travel around and you stay in the hotel and you do the whole thing. And I did that, even after college, and trying to get a teaching job and substitute teaching. And it just kind of turned into this thing.
yeah. Sounds like you loved
Just
it though,
kind of,
right off the bat. Like it was a no-brainer for you to coach.
yeah, I really did. I think I found pretty early that I enjoyed coaching a lot more than I enjoyed playing. I,
Hmm.
at a certain point, I probably didn't realize I didn't like playing hockey anymore, until you're already in so deep and you don't really understand. You're just, this is all you know, so you're going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
And I got to this place where I started coaching, and I remember, coaching kids and watching them get better year after year. They have a little bit of success, or you go watch them play and they're so excited just to see you be there. Um, and I was driving like an hour one way. I'm not even, back then when I was charging, like, I'm probably just paying for my gas. I'm probably losing money. It was just something to do to see money come into my bank account at 21 years old, because I was driving so far in my
Yeah.
crappy little, Chevy Blazer that got like 12 miles per gallon, that I'm probably
Yeah.
just
The
wasting
Chevy
money. But
Blazer doesn't get a lot of mileage
no,
to the gallon, does it? No.
it did not. So I remember I just having that feeling eventually where I was like, I like this a lot more than I liked playing. Um, and then it just became something I was passionate about. And, it didn't work out right away. Out of college, I kind of struggled with what I wanted to do, if I wanted to go the corporate path, or if I wanted to, you know, coach. And I was teaching, and at the time it was like 2012, that the teaching climate here for jobs in Michigan was not very good. So
Hmm.
my girlfriend, who's my wife now, got a teaching job, and we were living together. And so we moved in closer to where she was teaching, um, and I was substitute teaching and coaching, but it wasn't really like making me the kind of money that at 23, 24, I felt like I wanted to make, to potentially get engaged or save
Yep.
money and do all those things. And so, through a hockey connection, basically somebody offered me a job and was willing to give me kind of on the job training and property management. Um,
Oh,
and so I,
wow.
I
Okay.
managed a 300 unit high rise for a couple of years. I was like a property
Really?
manager. Yeah,
Did
did like
did you
real estate
ever
management.
did you ever know Poppy? Um Greg Popsukis.
I did not, I don't think.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
because he does a little bit of goalie coaching, and I know his family was into apartment buildings and stuff like that. That's the reason why I asked that. Okay.
No, yeah, no worries. Yeah. So that was like my out of college job. And I did that for 3, 4 years. And, I got to this place where you know, um, I'm on track to be probably the youngest regional manager in the history of the company so far. And I'm doing the corporate thing, and I got engaged, and eventually I got married. Um,
Congrats.
and yeah, thank you. And that was, it's like 2026 at that point.
Oh,
Um,
you're married young. Well, I guess it's
yeah,
there's no
yeah,
young or old. It's everything is there. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So
So married at 26.
yeah. So, and I'm doing that. And I just remember, like, I got kind of to a place where I was waking up every day, like wondering what I was doing, like feeling that lack of purpose. And I was still coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and I was only coaching a couple kids. I was doing it at night after work or on the weekends. And, I was, kind of in a place where I was really stuck. And then, ultimately, a guy that I worked with from a very young age, he's probably one of my first ever students. Um, he was playing for the London Knights. He had just won a Memorial Cup. He won, I was a second round draft pick. And then that year he won the World Junior Tournament with Team USA, and he was the number one goalie. And that was like my break, essentially.
That was one of your students.
Yeah, he won the gold against, his name's Tyler Parsons. He won.
And I
Yeah,
would
so
say, I don't know if that, like, you created, that's not a break. That's something you created, but you did a great job with him and coaching him and bringing him along and stuff like that. It's like, kudos to you.
yeah, I mean, I would never take any credit for that, but to be honest with you, I mean, Ty was a really special talent. He's a really special guy. He's a great person, and his stepdad was really good to me. His stepdad Al basically raised him, and he was like, "You're my guy." So anywhere that Ty went when he made a AAA team, he wanted me to be the goalie coach, and so he kind of just always brought me around, and kind of just
Yep.
was like, "Hey, like this is what it is. This is my kid's goalie coach kind of thing." And Ty and I, we're really close, and I think that just like you kind of get to a place where I don't know how I want to say it, so I'm just going to say it. Like the
Yeah.
mob
Yeah.
is fickle. The mob is fickle. Like you have one guy who makes it, and all of a sudden everybody thinks you're a good coach. And I
Mhm.
didn't particularly feel like it was anything that I had done differently, but he does an interview with USA Hockey, or he does an interview with Maha, Michigan Amateur Hockey Association, like online, and he said my name, dropped my name a couple times, and that was all it really took. The phone starts to ring, and I remember um, that was when I decided to quit my job. I
Wow.
was watching him, play against Team Canada in that game. I stayed up, um, and I'm, on the phone with his parents after the game. I'm texting him after the game, like, just elated, right? And then I remember having to go to bed and wake up for work the next day. And I sat at my desk and I just stared at my computer screen for 8 straight hours. I don't think I did anything. I just was like, why am I here? What am I doing? Um, why am I not doing what I love to do every day? And it was just kind of like that moment for me of like, okay, I'm going to find
Mhm.
a way to make this work. Um, and it was, in large part, because of that popularity, I think that I was
Yeah.
able to, quit my job and start coaching goalies full time. And it's been that was 2017. It's 2023.
Wow.
So
That's 6 years ago.
yeah, been 6 years
Six
now.
years, 6 years ago, and 25. How many followers did you have back at that time, 2017?
Zero. I started posting on social media because my wife told me that I should for my
Good
business.
for your wife is very
And
smart.
she had a background in like social media marketing, business management as a teacher, teaching that type of stuff to students. And she was like, "Hey, you should get on Instagram." And I was like, "Instagram is stupid. I'm not going to post on Instagram. I'm not going to do that. I don't need that. Like, I'm not trying to do that. Like, I'm not trying to be a goalie coach. I'm like barely good at this. I just work with the kids that I work with. I'm fine with that." And she knew me better. And so she suggested that I, start posting on social media. And then it just kind of started taking off. I would post clips of Ty. I posted clips of guys I worked with who played in Germany or played in other leagues. And eventually, as I continued to build more, goalies that I trained, and I would just post training clips, you kind of start to like anybody. I had one or two that kind of went viral or whatever you want to say, and then you start adding followers. And I think what really got me the most followers was I posted myself recording the celebration of the gold medal game with Ty, the Canada US gold medal
What,
game, and
what,
it
what,
got
what
like
year was that? What year was that?
that was World Junior 2017.
Was that when Willie Deschardins was coaching Canada?
I don't know who the coach of Canada was, but it was
Might
Parsons
have
and Carter Hart were the two goalies
been.
that played
Okay, no,
against
no,
each
no. I
other.
think that was after. That was after. Yeah.
So it was
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
in
that year.
in Montreal in the shootout, and so I posted a clip of the game-winning save in the celebration, and it got like 500,000 views or something, and it was like the only video I had that did well. And so then all of a sudden people start following you, right? And
Yeah.
it just kind of became a thing, I guess. And then at that point, I guess I just was like, okay, well, I'm already here. I might as well just post the training videos. And that was kind of how it started for me, you know?
Good for you. Well, you know, I bet a lot of goalies and a lot of goalies and other goalie coaches are thankful that you've posted all that stuff, right? Because it definitely helps them. That's some
Yeah,
powerful
I mean,
stuff.
I have a love-hate relationship with social media. I won't lie. I think it's really good for a lot of things. I also think it's really bad for a lot of things. And I'm sure you probably can attest to that with some of the work that you do.
Yeah, it's like anything else, right? Yeah, there's good or bad, or yeah.
So I kind of just got to a place where you know, I think for a while I was doing some things, and you're like, okay, why am I posting this? Am I just posting this for views or whatever?
Yep.
And you just kind of come full circle to a place where you're like, okay, I don't care about this anymore. Like, and so I've honestly had the delete button almost pressed multiple times where I'm just like, I hate this. I'm not doing this anymore. It's not really like, it doesn't create really what I want it to create sometimes. But it's people like that that reach out and say, hey man, like I haven't had ever a goalie coach ever. I really appreciate you posting this. Or the
Yeah,
people
it helps a lot
that
of
you
people.
connect with, I think, over social
Yeah,
media, I think is why I
yeah.
continue to do stuff, because for every 40 people that comment about how modern goaltending sucks and all of us are terrible and I shouldn't be teaching RVH, and because they just either need somebody to yell at or they're having a terrible day, whatever. For every
Yeah,
however
the
many people of
naysayers.
them
There's
there are,
always naysayers, right?
there's a handful of good people out there that just really, are like, hey man, I appreciate this. This is cool. I learned something today. So
Yeah, you gotta love that. Yeah, there's always gonna be naysayers no matter what, right? Negative comments and people. It's just the way that they look at the world. You gotta thank your wife for turning on your light, by the way. I appreciate
I
that too.
know. I
She's
told her, I
like,
said,
"What are
hey,
you doing?
can you
You're in
come
the
in and
dark."
turn on the light for me? So I was like, I thought I opened the shades in here because I thought it would be bright enough, and it's not. So
It's
yeah,
all good.
sorry about that.
It's all good.
So
So now you've done a lot of work with Jimmy Howard, right? Like a very successful goaltender with the Detroit Red Wings. Tell us about that. Tell us about your work with him, if you're
yeah,
okay with it.
so oh yeah, I'm for sure. I don't think Howie would mind either. He's a pretty relaxed guy. Yeah, I was really lucky that I worked for the youth organization here for a number of years that was tied with Little Caesars. Or sorry, was tied with the Red Wings, Little Caesars. And I think at the time I was working with trying to think of how I met Jimmy. It was a combination of, I think, Jeff Saleko, who's with the Oilers now, and I think Chris Osgood, the guy Osgood, coaches kids team.
Yeah,
And
Western Hockey League goaltender Chris
yeah,
Osgood.
and so
Yeah.
I had obviously grown up, watching Chris Osgood, and then he coached his son's team, still does. And I think I had met him through Chris Draper because I was working with the
Okay.
goalies on
Yeah.
Draper's team, and we actually lost in the national championship game that year. I think it was probably 2018. It was 15 and under. We had a really good team, and
Did you
there's
guys
some
go to
good
did you guys go to
goalies.
the Kibit tournament? Did you go to the Kibit tournament in Kamloops?
I don't think so. Yeah, no.
Okay. Okay.
That was like we were. I don't remember. That was the 2002 group. So
Okay.
I was working with that team basically, and I was at the game. I think I met Chris at the game, or somebody introduced me to Chris somehow. And I had been kind of like, obviously we knew each other just from being around and him coaching a team and me working with some goalies. And the long and the short of it is that, like, out of nowhere, I got a text message from Chris Osgood one day. Hey, I've got a goalie I think you want to work with. And I'm thinking it's a kid, like
Yeah.
his son's age, his son's friend, whatever. He goes and he forwards me Jimmy Howard's contact information. It says he's expecting your call. So I'm like, I kind of texted him. I'm like, is this a joke? Like, what do you, okay. Like,
Did
he
you
said,
actually
no,
say
like,
that? You text him, is this a joke?
I'm like, oh, okay, sure. At the time I had some guys who were on NHL deals, but nobody that was actually an established, professional NHL goalie at least. And So I, call Jimmy and I leave him a voicemail, and like 2 months go by, 6 weeks go by or something, no call back. I'm like, okay, like he realized who I am. Like he realized like this guy's not
Oh,
any good. Like
come
I'm
on.
not gonna drain this guy. So
It's crazy
he
what the
calls
mind can
me.
do, where the mind can go. Isn't that crazy where the mind can go?
Yeah, and it turns
Like,
out like Jimmy's
that's
just
dark.
busy. Like he goes to
Yeah.
Maine every summer with his wife and his kids, and was just like, hey, I'm in the middle of doing whatever. And so he calls
Did
me.
you message Chris? I don't mean to interrupt. Did you message Chris Osgood again? Say, what, are you sure this wasn't a joke? You didn't message
No,
him again? No. Okay.
I just said, hey, I reached out to him. Yeah, hey, really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, obviously I would love to. Um, and I ended up talking with ended up catching up with Jimmy. Like he calls me. I'm somewhere random too, and like he calls me, and I'm like, okay, Jimmy Howard's calling me. Like obviously, I watched him play his entire career, my entire life. He's like my favorite goalie. For my graduation, my dad got me an autographed Jimmy Howard jersey. Like that's like
Nice.
the level of I was the guy I paid attention to because he was coming up into the NHL when I was still playing, and
Yeah.
being a local guy, a Red Wings fan. He's the number one goalie. He's the guy that I rooted for, and he was always one of my favorite goalies to watch play. And so uh, we ended up connecting, and I kind of was like, hey, like, what is it that you want to do? What can I help you with? Um, and, and then at that point, it kind of helped that I think the year prior, before all of this happened, I reached out kind of to Jeff Saleko, who was the Red Wings goalie coach at the time. I'm like, to Ryan Martin, who was the assistant general manager at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He had a daughter who played in our program when I was there, and so I was just like, hey, I normally wouldn't do this. I goes, I just want to learn. Do you think that it's possible for me, because I work with so many of the teams and I'm down here at LCA, like, could I just watch a goalie practice? I just want to come watch. I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to, do anything. I just want to sit in the stands up in the little part of LCA and hide and just watch and see what an NHL goalie practice is like. Because I was, probably 28 at that point, just trying to learn,
Yep.
and Ryan Martin says, yeah, that's no problem. So then I get this message from Jeff Saleko, and it's, hey, yeah, hey, Ryan told me you're going to reach out. Um, I'd love to, bring you downstairs. So like Jeff gives me, like, instead of me just sitting in the, upper part watching in the practice rink, he takes me downstairs. He introduces me to Jimmy Howard. He has me watch film with him and Jimmy Howard. And this is like a year ahead of me, having the opportunity to work with Jimmy. Has me sit down and watch video with them. Basically just like mentored me, took me under his wing. And then we just started talking, we would just text each other every now and then. And so he's, one of my great mentors, I would say. Like he's a guy that I still stay in touch with. And that ultimately kind of led to, I think, me having the opportunity a year later to actually get on the ice and work with Jimmy. And Jimmy introduced me to Andrew Hammond because they were good friends. They had, I think,
Yeah.
known each
The
other.
Hamburglar.
Yeah, the Hamburglar, as everybody knows him. And they were buddies, and Hammy was still living in Toledo at the time with his wife, and he's down in Florida now. And so Hammy would drive up to come train with me and Jimmy. So Jimmy had a training partner, and we, just got him ready it was 2018. So we got him ready for that season. And he felt really good about things. And we had some goals, that he set for that year, and we accomplished all of them. He was able to kind of reestablish himself. He got a contract extension, which was something that he wanted. And then, the icing on the cake was he was an all-star that year, which was just huge, to spend a lot of time with the guy and feel like, he had certain technical things that he wanted to work on, but we built a really good relationship too, and to me, that's, I
Had
think,
he
was the
ever,
biggest piece.
wait, was he ever an all-star before?
Yeah, he was an all-star
Oh,
multiple
I didn't
times.
know
I
if he
mean,
was. Okay, I was just gonna say
yeah.
that's powerful. So, but he wasn't the year before though, right? Or the year before that. So you brought him, but you helped. You're too what do you call that? Humble. You helped bring him back to all-star status. You basically did.
Yeah, you
Come
will
on,
never hear me
accept
say
it,
that. You,
Rob.
you will
Yes,
never hear me say that. Yeah,
it's a
I'm not
fact
built that
though.
way, man. You will not ever hear me say that. Like he did a ton of work. I watched him show up to the gym every day.
Yep.
I watched him show up to the rink every day with his meal, his pre-planned macro friendly meal. Like I
So
watched
he
him
was
do
into
all
the
this. So
nutrition. He was into the
yeah,
nutrition
he
for
was
sure.
doing what he needed to do to be prepared.
Yeah.
And that's that experience for me, having the opportunity to work with a guy at that level so closely, it changed the way that I looked at coaching. I think it was as much of a learning experience for me as anything I've ever, had the
Yeah.
opportunity to do. You work with those two guys and you watch them train together all summer long for 6-8 weeks, and the level of detail and how early they show up to the rink and the warm up they do before. And then Jimmy always wanted to do 30 to 45 minutes of skating before anybody else touched the ice. So like if it was a 12 o'clock skate, we had a relationship with the rink that we were training at, because at the time his kids were playing there. Was another local rink that we would train at.
Yeah.
And so they would just let us go on early because it's dead ice in the middle of the summer. And so if it was a 12 o'clock skate and we had an hour and a half, we were either going on at noon and the shooters were specifically not showing up until 12:30, or we were going on early and we just skated. He wanted to skate. And that was always something I believed in anyways, was the level of detail you needed, in training and skating. But, he kind of showed me, hey, this is what it is. This is what I'm going to do. This is what it has to be every day. And, we developed a really good relationship, and that was, kind of where I learned a lot of times that less is more with guys. You're working with a guy like that. And it's year one together. So we're learning each other. I obviously have this deep-seated tremendous amount of respect for him, just of everything he's done growing up watching him play on this team. He's played in the NHL for as long as I've coached. At that point, he's played in the NHL for 12 plus years. I'm like, I haven't even been coaching full-time that long. So you have this
did those thoughts, I'm assuming those thoughts went through your head
all the time. Yeah, all the time. Okay, this has to go a certain way. And okay, am I really good enough to be here? Am I really actually here? You take that mental moment of am I really actually here with these two guys? And and you kind of get to a place where you realize they're just regular people.
Yes.
They're just regular people who are really good at a sport. And pretty soon, about halfway through the summer, he would call me on the weekends just to talk status. We had built a relationship, and we maintained that relationship all the way through those last couple years of his career. He retired during COVID, and we trained.
Oh yeah. A lot of guys. Yeah, COVID kind of.
Unfortunately, he was one of those guys that was kind of without a contract, and that was hard. I know it was hard for him, I'm sure, but that was you watch a guy do the work. You watch a guy do the work over and over and over again and show up every day and then not be rewarded. So you're, from a coaching standpoint, it's okay, you're just speechless. It's kind of it's a level of lack of control, I guess. You just, it is that, you want so badly to be able to do something, and then you can't. And but fortunate to say, we're still friends. I run into him at the rinks all the time around here. He's coaching his kids now. I think he does a little bit of work for Bally Sports here. He does some broadcasting, and so we see each other at the rink. We text each other still sometimes. Sometimes we'll call each other, whatever. And sometimes we're on a group chat with a couple of the guys that younger guys that he used to train with that are still playing. Yeah. So one of them is Cam Johnson down in Florida. He plays for the Everblades. And so every now and then we'll get a text from Cam just on a group chat, and it's always Cam doing something dumb, just a screenshot of him having fun, or just a screenshot of his cat or something. Just that camaraderie is still there, even after guys are done playing. And I think that's probably the part I'm most proud of. Is just to be okay, I built a relationship with a really good guy, and genuinely cared about this person and invested everything that I felt like I had into this person, and they give you that back, and you see them have some success. And that's, again, that goes back to just me being a teacher. I think that's ultimately why I wanted to do this for a living. So
yeah, exactly. I'm gonna ask you one more question, then I got to wrap it up here. What would be the one piece of advice for the goaltenders that are listening? Maybe some technical advice. It could be from something you learned from working and teaching Jimmy Howard. It could just be from somewhere else in your goalie career. What's the number one thing that you would say to the goaltenders listening that want to move their goalie career forward?
I mean, I had one piece of advice. I think realistically, it's so easy to overcomplicate it. It's so easy to focus on a million different things. And a lot of times, it's one little thing, especially from a technical standpoint. It's one small thing that really impacts multiple layers of your game. So it's your balance, your spine angle, staying on top of pucks, maybe widening your feet a little bit, maybe being a little bit more. It's not like 12 different things that you need to work on. It's this one little detail a lot of times that manifests itself or creates issues throughout your game. If your balance is off, for example, you're going to go down in your butterfly, your knees are apart, you're leaning back, makes it really tough to make saves that way.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can work on our balance for, a week, 2 weeks, however long it takes, and just focus on that one little thing. Once you figure what that thing is, figured out what that thing is, a lot of times that really helps, just have them, kind of have like a central focus for a while. So it would just be maybe one thing at a time, I think the other one, from a more mental standpoint, is just, try to be where your feet are.
In the moment.
Kevin Ryder.
Mindful.
That's the way that it was relayed to me. Kevin Ryder, who used to be at the national program and now works for the University of Michigan, is another guy I feel like I have a pretty good relationship with, and he's a good friend. We always talked when he was at Michigan. He's a guy, or when he was at USA, and he's at Michigan now. He's a guy that I can bounce ideas off of. What do you think about this? Or hey, what do you think about this guy? Or and so like I'll just talk with him sometimes about life in general, or we talk about hockey, we end up talking about life a lot, and he's always like, man, you just these guys got to just be where their feet are, like, and that's something that's stuck with me, and now I say it to everybody. I can't take credit for that. That's Kevin, wherever he took that from, he related to me, and now I'm relaying it to everybody. Like, you just have to be where your feet are. Like, don't be so distracted by what somebody else is doing, what somebody else has. Yeah, that maybe
coach says. I
think you just have to be here and just try to get a little bit better every day. And
love it.
I think that's the biggest piece. Yeah.
Rob, thanks a lot for coming on, my friend. How can people find you? I know a lot of people have found you on Instagram. Maybe let everyone know your Insta. If someone's not following Rob, you need to follow him before his Instagram is full from too many followers. So what's your Instagram, and how can people follow you, and tell us about your camps you run in the summer and your coaching?
Yeah, I'm at Coach Liddell, spells like it sounds. At Coach Li, 2 D's, E, 2 L's. I'm trying to write it on the camera. And that's me on Twitter. I don't really use Twitter as much. I'm mainly on Instagram. It's kind of where I built my following and share most of my videos. I currently now am the director of pro and prospect development at Future Pro Goalie School USA. It's run by Jeff Lurg. So I do like our college pro camp in the summer. I help run our prospect camp every summer, which is like junior level type guys, major junior type guys, call it, some like D1 commit type kids. And then we do like 10, at least 10 weeks of summer camps. We might run more than that, to be honest with you, like youth camps, that Jeff and our guys do. And I work a couple of those as well. So, all of those links are in my socials. I post some stuff every now and then, advertising for a camp or anything like that. That's all through our website. But yeah, that's where they can find me. So
fantastic. Pete Fry, the Goalie Mindset Guy. This is a Goalie Mindset podcast. Thanks a lot, Rob, for coming on. That's Rob Liddell, super phenomenal goaltender coach. Make sure, if you can go to Future Pro, work with Rob, do it. Follow him on Instagram. That's Coach Liddell, Liddell at Instagram.com. I nailed it, right?
Yeah.
Did I nail it as far as like your name goes? Okay, perfect.
Yes. 2 D's, 2 L's. Yeah. Thank you.
Your name last name wasn't Fry. It would be a little easier to say.
I know, right?
Okay. Rob, thanks for coming on, my friend. This is fantastic. A lot of goalies are going to learn a lot from this podcast, and fantastic. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thanks very much.